that has been existing on my network for quite a little bit of time now. Essentially, I need to add some capacity, some compute capacity and storage capacity to my Kubernetes cluster, and I'm going to do that by setting up a PowerEdge R720 server. I already have Debian installed on this. That's Debian 12 Bookworm, and that's all I've done on it, really. So I have installed that and logged in, and after that, I've done nothing. Setting up QEMU and Kubernetes is a fairly difficult process. That being said, I already have a Kubernetes cluster that is based on QEMU. So really what I'm going to be doing is recycling the Ansible script that I wrote to deploy that server in order to get basically the same thing running on this server. And the goal is going to be to just add a few new compute nodes into my cluster and start using some more storage. Let's first look at the actual problem here. And first, I want to note that what you are seeing on the screen before you is actually over there for me. I'm looking at the actual Owncast chat, which, by the way, I can see Market News has shared the stream. Thank you, Market News. Appreciate that. But yes, so I am looking at OBS and the chat over here, and over here is where the code actually is. So I might turn my head over here at times because it's a little bit easier to click around. So let's take a look at the actual problem that we are facing first. I'm going to SSH into the control plane for the existing Kubernetes cluster. And if I just go to, let's look at Mastodon. That's pretty relevant given I've shared this on Mastodon. If we look at the pods running in this cluster, this one's actually not too bad, but we can see that this bottom one here, Mastodon Web, has been existing for about a week now, and it has restarted 96 times. If we go over to Nextcloud, that namespace in my existing cluster, we can see the problem is even worse. We have several instances of Redis that have started up to 430 times in the last 3 days. And every time that this happens, the service crashes, it all goes down, and I have to wait for it to come back. The beauty of Kubernetes is that it does just come back all on its own. I don't have to do anything. It's just a matter of waiting for it to restart. But it's annoying to have these service interruptions. I see that Tech at TagPush has shared the stream. Thank you very much, Tech at TagPush. I appreciate that. But yes, so it's annoying that this is happening. Now, the exact cause for this, I am not entirely certain, the root cause here. I am relatively certain that adding more compute power to this is going to solve the problem. This started occurring once I deployed Mastodon, which added a number of different services, as we can see here. There's Mastodon itself. This is not the right one. There's Mastodon, there's Elasticsearch, there's Redis, there's Postgres, all these different services. Once I deployed this stack, I started getting these errors of these pods restarting. And if we look at the logs for these services, we can get some clues as to what's happening. I'm going to go to the issues. And which one do I want? Is this even the right one? It might not be. Let me just go the main issues thing, because it's the last thing I created here. Nextcloud is crashing. So if we look at the actual errors that are here, maybe I'll put this link in the chat or something. Maybe that's an appropriate thing to do. I don't have it as open as read-write at the moment, so I can't do that. But you can go to my git and you can navigate to the same thing. It's gitt.eom.dev. The recording for this video is actually going to be uploaded somewhere on this website. I'll show you where later, but I digress. The issues that we're seeing here, if we look at Nextcloud, so Nextcloud is failing. It gets this SIGWitch. SIGWitch, that's a kind of weird error you don't see every day. And as I understand it, it might be Apache that has just implemented SIGWitch in a weird way from some basic research. But I don't think that's, I think that's a red herring. I don't think that's what's actually causing all of this. What I'm actually seeing is in Redis. So the AOF buffer without waiting for fsync to complete. Well, AOF fsync is taking too long, disk is busy. And so what I think is going on here is that my entire Kubernetes cluster is using one disk for storage. So all of those services, whenever they create a persistent volume claim and are storing data in that persistent volume claim, it's going onto one disk. It's technically 4 disks because it's a RAID 10 array, but that's neither here nor there for our purposes. We can only read and write so many things to the disk at one time. I think it's probably something like 255 file pointers you can have open, but I'm not certain on that. Don't quote me there. My guess is that what's actually happening here isn't so much that we are running into processing limitations, but the read-write capacity of that one disk is actually being used up by these processes. So that's a bit of a tricky problem. So basically what I'm getting at here is that simply adding a few more virtual machines to this cluster might not actually fix the problem. And there's something else that I need to do in order to solve that. That will require a little bit of finesse. Specifically, what I mean is, well, if we go back to our software infrastructure repository, and if we go to the main.yaml, this is the main pipeline that I use to deploy all of my services so far. And we'll be basically copying this for the R720 server. But if we go down here, exactly right here, the third task in this playbook is to create network file system share. And that is how the underlying RAID array, it's on the host system, the PowerEdge T640 server. It has 4 disks installed. Those go into there's actually like a separate, it's called a perk. I don't remember what that stands. PowerEdge RAID controller. That's what it stands for. I do know what it stands for. There's a separate RAID controller that does the RAID stuff and then passes that onto the host system, and the host just sees a single disk. I can prove it. We can go and look. So if we go over to the PowerEdge T640, and if I do lsblk, we can see the disks. And this one mounted at /data, that's the one. That's the RAID array. That's the whole thing. It's SDA1. So there you go. It sees those 4 disks as one really big one too. I think, yeah, you see it's 32 terabytes. That's a nice size RAID array. But anyway, so yeah, underlying host system sees one disk. This underlying host system is running at the moment. Do I remember the command? Verse list all. There we go. It's running all these. I think it's 13 total because it's 0-based index plus a control plane. So 14 total. I don't remember that number. That number of virtual machines are running on the T640 server. We're going to come back to that number in just a second, actually, because it comes up again when we go back to the R720. But anyway, why was I telling you about these? So what was the command I ran before? That'll help. Yes, so all of those virtual machines are running the Docker containers that make up this Kubernetes cluster. And those Docker containers need to create their persistent volume claims on this RAID array. So we use something called NFS, Network File System, and NFS makes that underlying RAID array visible on the network so that we can then, at some point later in this, we're going to tell Kubernetes to grab that network file system thing. Where is it? There it is, the NFS provisioner. So we deploy this NFS provisioner that takes that underlying RAID array and adds it to Kubernetes. And so whenever we create a PVC, it just so happens that on this one, it is the default. It's the default storage class. So whenever I request a persistent volume claim, and I do it without creating one first with a name, it's neither here nor there, it will automatically use my RAID array. And what that means for our purposes is that what I want to do on the R720 server, in addition to adding some more compute power to this cluster, because, I can, really the thing that's going to solve the problem that I'm trying to solve here is going to be deploying this NFS provisioner for the R720. The R720 has 13 terabytes, also in some kind of RAID configuration. I got the R720 secondhand off Craigslist, so I don't exactly remember as much details about it. But anyway, so what I'm expecting is that I am going to deploy this NFS provisioner, and then I'm going to go back to the services that exist on my network so far, mainly Redis. Like, Redis is just a cache. I don't really care about persisting my cache. That's not the point of a cache. So that's the one. I'm going to take those persistent volume claims off of my PowerEdge T640 RAID array, and I'm going to move them onto the R720 RAID array. And my hope there is that that will alleviate the disk pressure that we saw in that previous message, and I'll stop getting these unpleasant restarts. But for our purposes, your purposes as the viewer, you're probably more interested in just seeing setting up a server with QEMU and Kubernetes, which basically is what happens in this entire script. It does it from scratch, and I'm basically just going to take this script and take a few parts of it out to recycle and use for this new system. So let's do that now. I have this whole thing over here. Let me open the main one. Now I know that you can't see the left-hand side. I can barely see the left-hand side. LMNO. And we can make that bigger. We can make this bigger. We can make that way bigger. Just zoom in all the way. There we go. Nice. So what do I want to do here? I want to copy that file. And what do I want to call it? We're going to call it R720.yaml. And is it in my... okay, well, let me back up a step for those at home. What we're looking at here is called an Ansible playbook. Ansible is it is a tool for automation. And what you're going to do is define a series of tasks that you want to execute and write them in a YAML file like this. And then it's called a playbook. And then you tell Ansible to execute the playbook. And it's going to go through every single task in this playbook and not necessarily just execute it. It's idempotent, which means if the state that is described here is already true on the system that you are operating on, then it is not going to execute the same thing twice. That makes sense. So, nothing has been done on the R720 server, but hypothetically, if I were to just run this whole playbook again on all my servers, it should only affect the R720 because all of the others are already up to date with this. But I'm not going to do that because there's always a slight chance that something won't exactly be as I expect it. So let's not do that. I have copied that file. I want to open the file. Boy, that is hard to read. R7. Did I not do it correctly? Oh, I need to read. That's this text editor is called Kate, and I really like it. It's pretty good. Except every time I change the files, I have to refresh this thing on the side. That's kind of, why would you need to do that? That's strange. But anyway. Okay, let's zoom in again. So let's see here. And let's look at this first task. What is it doing? So a little bit confusing. Roles are basically a set of tasks. So it's hard to think about it in layers. The playbook will call roles, which call tasks, but the playbook can also call tasks. So if you have like a group of tasks that you want to run again and again and again, you can package them up into a role, and then you can just say, hey, run the role. And that's what I've done here. So the initialization of any of the machines, I'm going to kind of flip between the tents that I'm using here, talking about the R720 or the ones that I already deployed this on. in the original execution of this playbook, I wanted it on all of the machines that were in a class called workstations. Let's look at what that is. If we go over to inventories here, and I think it's this file. Give it a good zoom. So this defines all of the computers in my network. Each individual machine that I have, there are some weird things here. Oh, no, I see why I said that. Yeah, so like here are all my servers. We can see R720, R720, T640. This is the main one running the Kubernetes cluster. Same thing, we have our virtual machines down here, all the alpha workers that currently exist. I put them in groups. So like there's a group called alpha, and that contains all of these workers. There's a group called workers. It contains all of the workers. Another group called control planes, a group called clusters, and we can reference these groups. So in this playbook, when it says workstations as the host, what it means is that it wants to execute those tasks on all of the hosts that are in this workstations category. So that first task is for my personal computers. So I don't know how necessary that is for my use cases here, but hold on, let me see. Do I not put it on the server? Oh, okay, I see. When I wrote this playbook originally, I really wanted it to be a all-encompassing playbook where all of my computers were at a base state of having just had Debian installed, and then I could execute this playbook and everything everywhere would be set up at once. And it worked, but it's not super useful when you're trying to use it again later. So probably would have been better if I had individuated more a bit. Anyway, so I can actually just delete this first task because it is repeated in the second task. I think. Let's double check that. Debian, Ericomian, video driver. And yeah, I think I need, no, I don't need Docker on that. Okay, yeah. What am I doing here? So this task, I even took a whole aside to describe this, but this task is for my personal workstations. We don't need to do that here. That's not relevant. So we're going to delete this, and we are going to look at the hypervisors. So this is a task that is intended to run on all of the hypervisors. In our case tonight, I just want it to work on the R720, so I can change this to just say the actual host name. Now, again, Ansible is idempotent, so I didn't need to do that. When I actually execute this playbook, Ansible is going to log into, if I had written hosts, if I had written hypervisors there, it would just log into each individual hypervisor. It would see that these tasks have already been executed on the T640, and it would skip over them. That being said, logging in and doing the check takes time. So I know that I don't want to do it, so I'm going to go ahead and tell it, just do it on the R720, don't even bother with the check. Let's talk about these roles a little bit, very briefly. This one sets up all of my Debian machines. I think it just like does fun stuff like, give me that MOTD. Is that a command? That's not a command. So like, yeah, it puts that like fun graphic in my MOTD file, and some other stuff that is just generically setting up Debian, and then kind of the same idea for my personal user environment. So this fun little ZSH command line here, the fact that I'm using ZSH instead of bash, things like that are done in this role. Both of these are available on Git, git.eom.dev, and you can see those there. Let me finish my thought for once, and then I'm going to hop to a new one. This one, Ericomian NVIDIA driver. We do not need this. I created my own fork of this NVIDIA driver repository. They have an Ansible role for deploying the NVIDIA drivers on different systems, but it didn't support Debian by default, so I created this fork that supports Debian, and I am not going to install NVIDIA drivers on the R720 because it has no graphics cards, so that's not necessary. Okay, so our first task is going to be initializing the hypervisor, R720. We are just going to run those two tasks. I'm going to not write this to a file just yet. Yeah, I am. I can do that. Let's do it. Okay, cool. So the reason I paused is because I want to take an aside and let's talk about the workflow here for a second. I'm going to move over to Git, which is over here, and I want to create a pull request for this. So in the past, when I've done these kind of videos, I will basically do one-to-one with a pull request for a specific issue. So like I would open up this one, and I think there's even is there a create a branch thing? There isn't here. I'm getting a little bit confused because I use GitHub for my day job, and on GitHub, there is a button to create a branch based on a single issue, and that kind of implies a one-to-one. The pull request has one issue that it's related to, but that's not a necessary thing. This isn't the most important information in the world, but anyway, I am not going to start from an issue and create a pull request. I'm going to create a pull request that has the features that I want, and then I'm just going to link the issues that it happens to close wherever they are. We'll see about that later. I'm going to create a new one. I think I need to create a new branch first. So how does one create just a branch? This might be easier to do just on the command line. I don't think I've done this on Git itself before. Okay, there's the thing. No, I don't see an easy way to... Can I just type it in? What would I call this branch? R720. Yeah. R720 setup. Yep, okay, so we can create a branch R720 setup. Cool. Okay, we've created this branch. So now I'm going to create a pull request based on that branch. And is it going to let me create it with nothing in it? The PR will be empty. I hope so. That's what I'm expecting. That's looking good. Okay, let's give it a title. What am I going to call it? I'm going to give it exactly the same title as this video. For now, I'm just going to put a placeholder. Okay, that's all I'm going to put in this for now. Face is hiding the button. I hope this does what I think. I don't think I've tried this before, so why I'm doing this. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, cool. So I'm creating this pull request, and now I want to check out the pull request. So I'm going to copy this branch name. I'm going to go back over to Kate. Not what I wanted. Go. And let's check out that branch. We'll do a git fetch. That's going to bring that branch from the remote repository onto my local system. And then I'm going to check that one out. Okay. I'm going to write this file. Hold on. Now I'm not sure. Let me check the status here. So, okay. Bit of an issue in that I have some updates to these existing roles that I need to merge in that I haven't done yet. I'll just add that in there. There's this test that I've been working on. I should have done this as an update before I started doing it. Actually, I still can because I haven't done any commits yet. So I imagine this might be a little bit confusing why I'm doing this, but let me just go ahead and do it because I need to. So let's see. Okay, so I don't want to do anything with this PowerEdge R720.yaml. I want that to be on the new branch, but these other ones I want to add into main. No, I don't want to do that. That's a bad idea. So instead, what I'm going to do, since I've already created the R720 branch off of the main that exists on the remote server, I am going to need to, it's not going to have those changes from those inner roles. And so if I were to push those changes to main and then start trying to work on this R720 branch, I would need to like merge those changes in from main, and it's going to get kind of weird. Oh, but I do need to update those roles for. No, I guess I don't really. Not for this purpose. Okay. Confusing. So what I can do is, as I am writing my commits on this file and adding these commits to the R720 branch that I just created, I don't have to commit those inner roles. So only the changes to this r720.yaml file will get pushed over to the remote GitHub, but locally I will still have all of the latest updates on those roles. So when I actually execute it, it's going to use the local versions as the thing from which it is reading. So it will be the most up-to-date version. So I can do all my changes on the R720 branch on this file, get that working, have the R720 running as I want it, merge that file, and then those roles will still be read on main here, and I can worry about those later. So that's the plan. Cool. Let's finish going through this. We need network file system. This video, I have no idea what to tell someone for this video. I'm kind of going all over the place, and it's kind of crazy. By the way, Geerling guy, Jeff Geerling, boast. I don't know what I was going for with that word, but anyway, thanks Jeff Geerling for your Ansible roles once again, coming in handy. Okay, so let me see here. On the R720, I'm going to create, data. Let's create all those same ones. I don't want this one though. So we need a directory to say this is the network file system. Actually, let me show you the R720 real quick. Yeah, see, it's green. See how that text is green? It's just a fresh Ubuntu install. It's using bash. So very fresh. But why was I doing this? So if we do lsblk, we can see that our disk is a little bit different here. We don't have a dedicated disk that is going to be dedicated for the purposes of Kubernetes. So we have a lot of storage space. We have 13 terabytes, but it's not separated from the operating system at all. We're still going to give it a folder on this disk, but on the T640, we have a dedicated disk mounted to the /data directory, whereas on this one, it's just going to be intermingled with the underlying 13 terabytes, which is why I want to put stuff on here like Redis. I don't care about storing my cache. That defeats the purpose. Also, while we're here logged into the R720, let me just go ahead and do less process/CPU info, and let's see a little bit about this CPU. In particular, I want to see how many cores it has. There we go, 12, down at the bottom here. It has 12 cores. And that is important because that tells us how many virtual machines we can run. Each core can become a virtual CPU. So I can run 11 virtual machines on this. I need to reserve at least one of those for the host operating system. So I can put up to 11 virtual machines on this. But I can be a little bit more fancy with how I divvy it up. So I could say I want 5 virtual machines that have 2 virtual CPUs each. I leave 1 virtual CPU for the host, and then I take that remaining virtual CPU and I just put it on another virtual machine for some other purpose. Or I could put each one 1-to-1. So I could do 11 virtual machines, each one having 1 virtual CPU. On my PowerEdge T640, that is what I did. I did 1-to-1. That's why there are so many over there. That has actually 16 cores. So few more than this one, but I do 1 core per virtual machine, maximizing the number of virtual machines I have. On the R720, I don't think I need that many virtual machines, so I think I am going to do 2 virtual CPUs per virtual machine. And I think that's actually what we are going to be setting up in this next step. So that was a very convenient distraction for once. Hooray. Cool. I think we're ready to move on to that. So let's look at how I am defining the virtual machines that are running on this server. I use a role, libvirt guests. I didn't realize I was doing that. So I guess we're not going to look too deeply into how specifically I am deploying these things. The point is that I basically define the virtual machines I want in variables. If I go to my host variables, we can take a look. Let's look at alpha worker 0. There are only 2 variables defined here. They are just the name, and apparently this one needs the NVIDIA driver. Let's look at something a little more interesting. Maybe the control plane. That's not very interesting. How about alpha? No? Well, let's look at the T640. We can see here that I have a few things defined. Libvirt networks. This is a variable that I have defined in my host vars file for the PowerEdge T640. First, I have defined the network that I want it to create. That is a WAN bridge and a LAN bridge, wide area network, local area network. And then this is all of the virtual machines that I want to run on here. Actually, I have an NFS export as well. And yeah, this makes it really easy. So I'm glad I did this in the past. So this video has been advertised as like how to set up QEMU, but I'm basically just saying, it's already defined in this role and I don't need to know how to define it. And so I have already in this role defined something that's kind of generic that deploys virtual machines with QEMU through Ansible. And so all I really need to do is define the guests that I want on this R720. Let's actually just do that. That makes it easy. So in Ansible, whenever you run the playbook, it's going to go into these variable files, just like there's a group vars directory and a host vars directory in the root of your project. Ansible will automatically search those directories for files with contents that match hosts in your inventory file, which is defined. I showed you that already. It's where I'd have the hosts defined. So when I run my playbook, Ansible is automatically going to take these variables and associate them with the host that I am trying to operate on. So which one is this now? I need to refresh these things again because it's weird. Now, I am just going to have to change a few variables here. I guess, I don't know, maybe I should just go into, I don't know how much people are interested in seeing the role, individual actions of the role. I'm just going to move forward here with the project and we'll see what happens later. R720. Do I want the same networks? I think so, but I need to grab the interface names. So I'm going to do IPA, and I can see that my actual IP address, the 192.168.1.50 right here, that is on the interface ENO1. So on my, that's the one that I have connected to the internet. So I just want ENO1. And I'll call ENO2 here, LAN bridge. I guess I didn't really use this on the T640, but, and actually the R720 has four different network ports. So I'm actually going to just remove this. I can always add it again later, I think. And our guests. We do not need any of the existing ones. But we are going to change it. So let's see. How many did I say I want to deploy? 5. Yeah, so I'm going to do 5 virtual machines. Okay, well, yeah, 5 virtual machines of 2 CPUs and 1 virtual machine of 1 CPU. And do I just want to stick all of them in the alpha cluster? I think that the one CPU I am not going to put in the cluster because I just want to, have that off to the side for separate purposes. It's getting really dark in this picture, and it's been really framey the whole time. So anyway, distractions. Sorry. Yes. So 5 VMs of 2 CPUs. I think I'm just going to go ahead and stick all of them into alpha cluster. I don't really have anything else to do with them. I will keep one off to the side. Maybe I should keep more off to the side. I don't know. Let me think for a second. Also check on the chat here for a moment. Give my mind a pleasant distraction. Nothing. That's all right. Let me actually grab a drink of water real quick. I will be right back. Okay, after due consideration, I have decided to stick all of them into alpha cluster. So let's copy them. 1, 2. Am I not on the right thing? I am not. And do I want to go ahead? Yeah, I'll just go ahead and create the other one. So 6 total. Let's call them. This one. What do I want to call this one? Let's just skip that one for now because I haven't thought about it. And what's this? The NFS export. So that's going to be part of my network file system stuff. I don't really know exactly what that is, but I do know I will want to put it on /data. This looks appropriate. So that can be... Actually, I can just delete that because that is false by default. Not giving me an easy way to delete the full line. I think that's all I'm going to need, but I will need to create host var files for each of those alpha workers. So let me out of this. Let's do number 12. Let's just copy it. Actually, let's do a loop. Get a little refresh going. Okay, and each of those should be pretty much the same. I just need to update the host names. as you can see here. But I guess we will end up going into the libvirt role for a second, because I will show you how I am doing the virtual CPUs. And I want to double check, make sure I got all those correct. $16, $15, $14, $13. Okay, good. Let's take a look at the libvirt role. I'm going to do it over on git t because it's a little easier to navigate things there. It's getting really dark over here. Sorry about that. Just want this. Libvirt guest. Let's see. I think it's actually pretty simple what it does. This is not up to date. So that doesn't help. I guess we'll have to check it out in the repository. So that's fine too. Let's see. Where am I? Roles, there they are. Yes. Nothing. What's going on here? Well, that's a wrinkle. I just swore there was a step in there. I think what might have happened was that I had originally salvageable, bit of a problem. I think originally I had to find each of the individual steps for playing the virtual machine. Uh-oh. Ooh-wee. I don't know if I finished my thought, but guessing what happened was I had originally defined steps for deploying a virtual machine in the main task, main playbook, and I subsequently forgot to move those over to, oh, I thought I had already done this. Oh, did this do it? No. Well, this is a bit of a wrinkle. Trying to see if I saved those tasks. Boy, I should have cleaned this up a long time ago. Apparently, I tried to do this sometime in the past on this file. Back in my that had actual steps or guess. Apparently, I didn't save that, which is sure, but I didn't find that hard. That's silly. Oh, this. I think this is it. I have just gotten very lucky here. This is pure luck. This is what I think it is. Ah, okay. Why is this in twice? I don't want to have to stop the stream, but I feel like I need to like make sure I know what I'm doing here before. Oh, okay, I see. This is creating. Okay, I think that we have salvaged the situation here. You can't really see me at all anymore in this video, but that's okay. I think this is correct. So if it hasn't been clear over the past few minutes what I've been thinking about and trying to do, the in the main playbook, which is going to be hard to find in this now, main.yaml is somewhere. First one, this main.yaml, where I'm calling this role for libvirt guests. and then I look at the libvirt guests tasks file. As we saw, it was completely empty. So apparently I changed after I had done all of my deployments on the T640. I took out the steps for deploying libvirt guests from just being written in this task file, and my intention was to move them over into that role. Apparently that didn't happen, so that role is empty at the moment. And so I was looking to see if I could find those tasks somewhere else, and indeed I'm fortunate that I did. Close a bunch of stuff here. See. As the actual, these are the, part of me feels like I should do this more carefully before moving along here. It's been a while since I've done this. We can see the different tasks though. Here's what I'm doing. Essentially, in the role, do I have my templates defined in that role? This is really hard to navigate now. Yeah, I do. So in the role here, we can see that I have a template for a libvirt QEMU virtual machine. Let me zoom in on this. This is the XML format that is used to define libvirt virtual machines. The average user is probably not going to see the XML definition, at least immediately. Usually you're going to use some commands, either just raw QEMU commands, I don't remember them off the top of my head, or libvirt commands to define your virtual machines. But in the end, once you have done that, libvirt will in the background have an XML file that contains all of the definitions for your virtual machine. And what I have done is I deployed just a generic virtual machine. I took that file and I turned all of the different aspects into variables, Ansible variables, into an Ansible template. So this XML file defines a pretty generic VM for QEMU libvirt. And so the role is supposed to have default values defined for these virtual machines. If I that here we go. So yeah, the group vars for the group called VMs includes values, default values for all of the variables that are there, that are supposed to be in that role, that are not. This is actually not going to be too much of a problem anymore. I think we've averted the crisis. So, yeah. So these values basically fill in all of the values for this XML. All of these variables here have default values defined currently in the group vars file, and so I can just deploy any of those VMs I defined, Alpha Worker 13 through 17. I can just say deploy them, and it will deploy them with the default values. And part of those default values are CPUs. So I will want to, on my guests, basically want to copy. I need to make this bigger for you. Sorry. This value here, virtual CPUs, value 1. I just need to go in my host vars because host vars are going to override group vars. Let me these because using And so what I need to do is say, crap, I forgot it. All that scrolling. vCPU value. And now Alpha Worker 13 will deploy with 2 virtual CPUs instead of 1. Right. Okay, now let's do that for that one. I don't go. I guess we'll just do it clicky clicky. I don't like clicking around interfaces because it makes me feel like a stupid monkey who only has one button. Click, 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 click. And you get instructions that are like, click on this, then click on that, then click on this, then click that, click this. It's just like, just tell me what to type. Anyway, so let's double check my math here. 13, 17, that's going to be 10 virtual CPUs, leaving us with 2 extras. I can create an additional one later, and I think that's it. So again, since the group var of VMs contains all of the default values that I want for that XML file, all I need to do in this host vars file is define the overrides, anything that I want to not be that default value. And in this case, the only thing that I want to not be the default value are the virtual CPUs, except for maybe the RAM, because we have not talked about RAM yet. Let's take a look at that. We look at the R720 and just do top. We can see that I have 128 gigabytes of RAM on the server. I have 256 on the T640, and I have divided that up. It's a little confusing because I have 16 gigabytes on the control plane, 32 gigabytes on each of the workers, and then however much is left over on the host. I think it leaves 16 gigabytes left over. And 32 times 5, I don't think I can do the same thing for these new guys. They might need to have less RAM if there are 5 of them. Let's pull out a calculator because I don't want to do math right now. It's late and I have a full-time job that also requires thought. So we're going to calculator this, and that's not a calculator. LibreOffice Calc, get out of here. Don't load. Filth. Just a simple calculator. There we go. Why can't I move it? I guess I don't need to move it. But it's not doing anything now. I hope my whole computer hasn't frozen. That would be bad for the stream. It hasn't. But I don't know what's going on with this calculator. It's not working for me. We'll go to a Google calculator, sorry. Calculator, force quit. Anyway, 128 gigabytes of RAM divided by, let's just say, we have 5 virtual machines, 6, we'll divide it by 7, because there are 5 virtual machines, the additional virtual machine, and then the host operating system. If we divide 128 by 7, 18 gigabytes each. So if we give each VM 18 gigabytes of RAM and just leave whatever's left over to the host, I guess that kind of makes sense. I might as well ditch the face cam. I might turn on this. That's kind of better. Okay. Let's see here. Yes, RAM. Calculator won't close. Anyway, how did I define RAM on? I think full plane example. Do they all have the same amount of RAM? That doesn't make. Ah, 4 gigabytes of RAM? Oh, okay. I think more tricks going on here. So in my host vars, I am not defining any amount of RAM. And so like if we look at alpha worker 1 here, we can see that I don't have anything specified for RAM. Nothing is specified. So, and in VMs, we have a default value of 4096. This is a group var. So nothing is overriding this group var. Well, actually, there is something overriding this group var, and that is the workers group. This is an additional group in addition to VMs. And here we can see that I have said for the workers, they get 16 gigabytes, or that many megabytes. And what about the control? Gigabytes, that's much less than I said. That's half. Did I just say it? Altogether. Well, I guess they get 16 each. That works for me. And I believe this will apply. So yeah, I still don't need to specify anything for the new alpha workers because the same override principles are going to apply here. The 16 gigabytes defined here in the worker group is going to override the 4096 defined here in the VMs group. Not really sure why, to be honest. Why does that one get preferred over the other? I don't know. It just so happens to work on the VMs because if I SSH into one, which I will do to prove it, this is going to have 8 gigabytes of RAM. We can see there it goes down because it's megabytes versus MB, but it's basically 8. And we can see if we go to alpha worker, whatever. Yeah, it's got 16. Okay, so that is working as expected. Long story short, do nothing, which is always a fun result. I don't know where things went now, so. Right. Not having those tasks in the place I expected threw quite a wrench into it. I'm going to open up all these files. Okay, so let's finally reel it back in, and we are going to copy some. Let's just get this whole thing, and I think all of this. Pretty confident. Pretty confident that whole thing is just exactly the steps. That right there. this. Rid of it. I also need 720, which I probably should have done before copying it. Easily all. Now let me read through this and double check and make sure that I'm doing things correctly here. So, oh, and this is main. That's great. That's not what I. See, that's why we double check. In this one. We need to do this again. Okay. Now let me read through it. Let's see. 20, we're going to do those basic things. File system. Directory. Parse file. Install some packages. That makes sense. Packet forwarding. That makes sense. Reload. That makes sense because we have to reload sysctl after packet forwarding. We are going to define our networks from the host var that we set earlier. That's correct. Create the network. That's correct. Auto start the network. That's correct. To download the base image. So Debian is going to publish a QEMU image that you can kind of just download and start running in QEMU. So that's part of the process here. We're just going to download, and it's a QCOW, which means we can resize the disk. Important, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I think we had to do that. Let me just keep rolling here. Yeah. So the base image here, it uses something called cloud config, which is an interesting application that I don't know too much about it, but it kind of exists before the host operating system, because you can do what I'm doing here, where you can connect an ISO image or give it some kind of seed in some way, and the first time you boot that image, it will take that seed into account. So there are things that I put into this cloud config directory that will say, like, oh, change the underlying disk space to some size, and that's how I'm able to achieve that. There are other configurations of the internal machine that I'm able to do with cloud config, but I don't quite remember a lot about it at this point. So point being, it's used to configure things, and I'm using a specific QCOW to do that. So yeah, that's what that does. I don't remember what these are. It's the same thing. So like, we're taking these cloud config templates, we're going to modify them with some values, and then we're going to upload them as an ISO to the cloud config, QCOW that we just downloaded. Let me see. We define it, the virtual machine. We create the virtual machine. I need to SSH into it to enable it. Once you SSH into it, we'll get to that in a second. I think that looks correct. It kind of looks correct. kind of think I needed to reboot them. Maybe I needed to reboot them. We'll just roll with it for now. So the next thing we're going to do, yeah, I'm going to manually SSH into them. That way I can trust their identities. And then here's where I need to actually specify the ones I want to work on. I don't know how to do multiple here, actually. I guess it's just list in this format. Lost my chat here. I need to check out what clusters is referring to. Oh. What is clusters referring to? I don't think I want that. I think I want it to... I think I want to specify these guys as well, because yeah, so the control plane and the existing workers are already initialized, and we're just initializing these as like new ones in the system. So each of these workers needs to have these done on it, but the existing ones don't. Same kind of things. We're going to enable packet forwarding on the VM. Some other stuff, libraries. And I don't think... I think I'll do the same thing here. Whoops. There is no beta cluster or gamma cluster. Helm only goes on the control plane. Helm is like a package manager for Kubernetes. It lets me kind of easily install services. This we do need. So we need an NFS provisioner. I don't think a lot of these we do need. Oh, these are just repositories being added in Helm. So they'll already be added. The control plane is the only thing on which this is being done, and the control plane is already good to go. What was the last thing I did? Yeah. So I don't need any of these control plane steps. That's already good. But yeah, this I do want, actually. Okay. Okay. There's one step in here that I want. This is where, this is where we are telling Kubernetes about the existing network file system share that we've created on the R720. Here's where we are adding that into Kubernetes. So I'm just going to change this to R720, and cluster name is alpha again. So we can kind of leave that alone. Do I loop this or something? What do I loop this? Oh, okay. So it's, yeah, cluster name is a variable that's associated with the control plane. We don't need to worry about that. It's going to do alpha for us. We can just be explicit about that though. Might as well. It's not the default class. And let's give it a name. What do I want to call it? So I'm actually a little confused here because when I want to specify, I'm not sure what I would call it. I'm not sure, in Kubernetes, when you want to tell something to use this share, I don't know where I specify the name. The release namespace doesn't really make sense for that. So let's do a little searching. FS provisioner. Server name and the path, but like, where do I say with a name when I want to actually tell a Kubernetes PVC to use this provisioner over that provisioner? Just been calling it NFS client. I guess we can look at the deployment. $261 days. Not bad. 'I think I just call it NFS client when I'm looking for it. Let's see. Chart ref. I deleted the reference. Oh, Where is it? Oh, this is getting a little bit. This is getting a little bit much for one stream, folks. Too many problems. Let's see. What am I gonna do about this? What do I call this? How do I do it? What? I don't know. I'm getting a bit tired here. What time is it? It's like 9:30. We're so close now. Oh. I want to finish. Let me take 5 here. Let me take a quick break and we'll come right back here. We're gonna do this. I'll be right back. All right, folks. Getting late. I grow weary. We're gonna press on here. I'm going to undo a few steps and see where that repository existed. There it is. That's what I need. Give me that link. And we're going to go over to the same thing. Where do I give it a name? Can I just search name? Show me an example of using it. Yeah, see this right here. This is what that. Okay. That's what I'm looking for. That. By default, this storage class name. Okay. I think we're on to something here, folks. Oh boy, I'm getting excited. Values.yaml. Show me the values.yaml. I'm tired, excuse me. Charts, we're getting close. Going to, yep, okay. It's not a value. Okay, storage class dot name. Name of the storage class. That's the value that we have been looking for. So we can redo all of our steps, and value is going to be storage class. What are you doing? Why are you highlighting stuff? Why is it highlighting that? That's annoying. No. Get rid of that. Yeah. Okay. Am I doing this correctly? Storage class dot name. Storage class dot name. Correct. And what do we want to call this? So the default that I have on the T640 is NFS client, and that's unfortunate because I can't easily rename it. I would like to name it like T640 NFS client, so maybe I should call this one R720 NFS client, and then just default NFS client is that main one. I guess that will work. Okay. I think we're back on track here. Not going to deploy that. Not going to deploy that. If you're curious, Metal Load Balancer is a thing that allows me to define services in Kubernetes that are of the type load balancer. So you get three different types. There's cluster IP services, which are only accessible to other services within your Kubernetes cluster. You have node port, which takes a port on the underlying host and routes that to the service that you have deployed into Kubernetes. So on your external network, you will port forward to some weird port that your underlying host will have open that will go to Kubernetes in this service. And that's a way to expose a service to the outside world. And then the last one is load balancer, where it gets its own IP as if it is a machine that exists on the outside network in and of itself. And this is the most powerful one because you have the ability to port forward every single port to that IP address. So I don't know if I'm explaining that clearly. on your node port machine, you have one IP address and all of the ports that are available for that IP address. And all of those are available for all of the services in your Kubernetes cluster. Versus if your service has its own IP address, then each service has all of those ports available to it. And that's not necessary, but it's much more flexible and it allows you to deploy, I guess, a lot more in a more standard way. You don't have to do a lot of weird port forwarding of, like, on your external router, it's incoming on port 443, and then you route it to port 30,443, which then routes back to port 443 on the inside to get to your Kubernetes cluster. That's kind of weird. By using this load balancer service, I'm able to get like an actual IP on the service, and that's what Metal Load Balancer does. I'm doing a bare metal Kubernetes cluster, meaning I have deployed it onto virtual machines on my own server right there, as opposed to in Amazon Web Services or Google Cloud. So since I'm doing a bare metal Kubernetes cluster, I need to have this Metal Load Balancer in order to get those external IPs through, what was that service type called? Whatever. It's getting late, folks. Load Balancer type. Yeah, we get it. It's already deployed. I don't need that. And the BGP peer, that's kind of specific to my router. It goes with Metal Load Balancer. There are two different kinds of load balancer services that you can get. There's this BGP one and L2 something, and there are differences between them. I don't quite remember. The BGP one was more desirable, so I'm glad that I got that, and it does something specific. I don't remember. It's like something about, I think it's that the internal service will be aware of the other IP addresses on the external network, as opposed to the L2 service, in which, the external network gives an IP to that service, but the service doesn't, go back and say, hey, are there other IPs on this network? I think. I don't remember exactly. You'll have to go onto the Metal Load Balancer thing to see exactly what the difference is there, but you get the point. There are two different types. Address pool, same thing. That goes to, it's part of the Metal Load Balancer, and same thing with this BGP advertisement. See, that's the advertisement thing that I was talking about. I don't know that I explained that correctly, but that's what BGP is for. Ingress, nope, I have an ingress controller already. I already have Cert Manager. That's basically what that's doing is it deploys an instance of Nginx in front of all of my services. That way I can have multiple HTTP services on one IP address. So my one public IP address is the only IP address that, discourse.eom.dev, owncast.eom.dev, mastodon.eom.dev. All of those URLs point to the same public IP address. And I need this ingress controller, this ingress Nginx controller, to work as a reverse proxy for all of those services, so that when I get a service on port 80 for HTTP, or actually port 443 for HTTPS, the Nginx ingress controller is going to say, what is the host name that you are asking for? And it's going to route to that service. So that's how that works, and that's what that's for. And Cert Manager actually connects to Let's Encrypt in the background and assigns SSL certificates to any services that I deploy. So whenever I deploy a new HTTP service, it's all pretty automatic. I just say, hey, use my ingress controller Nginx and ask for a cert from Cert Manager, and I get a new URL for my network that points to a new service with HTTPS enabled. This makes setting up public services on the internet very easy. So I'm going to delete these two here because I already have it deployed and I don't need it. But like, those two services are kind of the magic sauce to easily deploying things on the internet. Maybe I'll talk about them more later, but not today. Cluster Issuer. That connects to the Cert Manager thing that just makes it so that it can issue certificates in a certain way. I don't remember exactly. NVIDIA GPU, we're not doing that here. Port forward HTTPS to ingress controller. I don't need to do that because that's already done. Remember, we're adding to an existing cluster, not creating a new one. And with that, it actually looks like that's the whole file. So let's go through the whole thing again just to actually, more for me, be clear about what needs to be done. So on the PowerEdge R720 hypervisor, we are going to run my basic Debian setup. We're going to run my basic user setup. We're going to initialize network file system by running this yearling guy NFS role, and then I think it actually does tasks. I don't remember the exact order here. So you can also define pre-tasks. So I think it goes pre-tasks, roles, tasks. I guess I would want this to be done first as a pre-task, but I'm not going to change it because I know this worked. So let's leave it alone. And I don't think I need these two because I don't have those two clusters. So I'm just, yeah, I'm just going to leave them. Anyway, virtual machines. Here's where it gets a little dirty. Still on the R720. Pre-tasks, install the packages, update cache, enable packet forwarding, and reload systems CTL. That makes sense. We're going to define our libvirt networks based on our things. And did I define a libvirt network on this? The R3. Yes, I did define that one WAN network. Cool. Okay. Find our network, create our network, auto start the network, download the base image, getting the latest. Cloud config directories, templates, create an ISO. I don't know what this logging config thing is. We'll leave it though. Find the virtual machine, create the virtual machine. Do I not need to auto start them? I want them to auto start. I don't know if I need to define that here. Let me Google it real quick. And I'm just going to do it on an easier screen for me to look at because it's a little bit easier. Okay. This is the documentation for the Ansible libvirt module, which is what we are currently using. And example. Yeah, okay. For the define command. But is it in the XML? No, it's not. I don't know. I think I'm going to put it in there just because I want to make sure that that happens. Double check the doc, make sure I did that correctly. Community libvirt virt. Oh, it just does that separately on this one. I think I will do that the same way. Because on the networks, I did them as separate tasks, and I want to be consistent, so. Oops. There's some funny stuff going on in this playbook because of the way I am defining virtual machines here. So the hypervisor, the host, the R720, recall, has a list of guests, these guests right here, these libvirt guests. So for a lot of these commands, we are saying, I want you to iterate over that list, and it's on the hypervisor that we are going to say, auto start this virtual machine. That would make sense, actually. So let me just double check that documentation. Name, auto start true. Name, auto start true. Cool. Yeah, so on the hypervisor, we want to go over that list of guests and either create them, define them, auto start them, do whatever. Once we have done that, we are going to wait for me to actually run SSH into each of these workers. That way the subsequent tasks can be executed automatically. Otherwise, it's going to, not recognize this host, and it's going to want me to say, yes, I trust this host, and I don't want to have to do that. So that can cause problems if it's happening in the middle of the playbook. So, okay, so create the virtual machine, start the virtual machine, SSH into it, and then we are going to do the same thing. We are going to run ericomean.ericomean. Do we need Debian? We don't need to run ericomean.debian, I don't think. Do we, though? It's a shame I don't have the original for this. Let me double check. Let me see what. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, actually, I think that is correct. So the cloud init stuff allows me to basically define everything that I wanted from that Debian role, that ericomean.debian role, that I did have to define, that I did have to run on the virtual machines. And wait, this is the virtual, no, that I have to run it on the hypervisors, but I don't have to run it on the virtual machines since they are using cloud init, and cloud init allows me to inject into it the things that I want configured, which is what that stuff is up here about creating that ISO and these config files. Once I inject those in, that gives me the configuration that I want for this, and blah, blah, blah. While I'm thinking about it, I do need to double check that here contains that. Yep. Okay, we're good. So each of those, I actually can take this off or leave it. I know that none of them are going to use this. None of them have this set to true, so it's going to skip it for all of them. I'm just going to leave it so we can see that. Do I really want to? No, let's not risk it. Whoops. I am not sure what that did. Okay. Initialize the cluster. We're almost there. We are going to, yep. Enable packet forwarding, same deal. I don't know what that BRNet filters does. Now I'm pretty sure that when we run this over these guys, they're going to have no problem joining the network. They'll find the hypervisor or the alpha control plane and just join into that cluster, I think. And then we will deploy an NFS provisioner into a new namespace. This is why we check our work. To be clear, I only check my work on things I care about. If I don't care about it, it's just do it as quickly as possible. Very important too. If it's not worth doing, it's not worth doing correctly. But if it is worth doing, it is worth doing correctly. So, okay. I think that's everything, folks. I think we are ready to run this playbook. If this doesn't work, then we are going to have to pick this up another time because it's getting a little bit too late for me here. And before I do this, I want to follow up on that Git thing. So, ooh yeah, we've added a few things here, and we need to be careful about what we're going to do. We don't want to add these roles or test.yaml. We want to add host vars / everything. And that. If we do git status now, okay, those roles and test are still not staged. Those are staged. And so now let's go back over to git and let's take a look at that pull request. So first and foremost, this video, which has been of superb quality, I might add. This video I am going to upload to Min.io, and then I am going to leave it in a comment here. So this video's home is going to be right here in the comments. But that can't be done until I'm uploaded the video. So we're not going to do that just yet. I am just going to make a commit and push that up. And actually, let's take a look real quick. So let's take a look at all our issues. We have a lot of issues, folks. 56 to be specific. We just look for the R720. What issues are related to the R720? We have Nextcloud crashing and update to that. So this is the only one obvious, but copy that. So using commit messages and comments on the pull request, I can link this pull request to any issues that are affected by it. So hopefully this Nextcloud crashing will be closed by this pull request. So I want in my commit message, actually there's a nice way to do it in this Kate thing. Commit message. The basic one, the basic commit message is going to be added. Add a playbook for okay. And down here, I want to add a list of closes that. By doing this, you can't really see it there on the screen. It's a bit small, but I just have the word closes and then DevOps slash Ansible role EOM number 37, which is the reference to the issue of Nextcloud crashing. And so this pull request isn't in the same repository, but I think I can still close issues with it on another repository. And I can actually add as many closes statements or blocks statements or depends on statements. There's a list of them. I don't remember exactly what they are. And in the background, Git is going to link these things together so that once I merge this pull request, it's going to automatically close those issues for me, which makes management of the project a little bit easier, or a lot bit easier. The problem is certainty. So I, at this stage, have not tested this, so I don't know for sure that this is going to close that issue. So for now, I am going to just leave that. And do I want a secondary message? No, I'm just going to do that. And let's see. Push. Okay. Yeah, so in the future, like this commit message would, it would say closes a certain link, and that link would actually hyperlink to the issue that I am talking about, which is not here. But, and then when I merge this pull request, that issue would get closed in the background. So it's pretty nice, but we're not there yet. So we can actually add this work in progress prefix, which isn't super necessary, but hey, let's do it. So I guess now the thing to do is test it, which is the moment we've all been waiting for, unfortunately. So this should actually take a fair amount of time to run. I expect that I will start this, and it has to do quite a lot of stuff. It has to install packages, it downloads virtual machines, it starts those virtual machines. We're just gonna have to see how far that this gets. I'm going to let it run the whole time, and I'll just keep it running in real time so you can get a exact idea of what this is like. If you want it to go faster for a time lapse, then you can increase the speed of the video. So this is going to be real time, and I'm going to turn off my camera and take a little break. And if this doesn't work, we are going to pick this up again another time because it's getting a bit late here. So as I've said, I'm just going to start this, turn off my camera, and let's see what happens. Oh, I need to type in some stuff. Oh, that's fine. But we can do that. Just make sure it connects and starts. Okay. I'm hearing it. Okay, it's doing stuff. I'm just gonna have to leave it for now. So let's see what happens. I'm gonna turn off my camera and let's all pray. see on the tasks where it says okay. That's what I meant when I said that Ansible is idempotent. It's a task for create libvirt networks. Looking at it and saying that that is already done. So I suppose that defining the libvirt network and creating it redundant steps. So when it gets to that create step, it says this is already done on the system. It's already good. I suppose because auto start. No, I don't know. Anyway, point being, it's skipping that step because it's already done. In other words, it's idempotent. This step is a little bit inefficient because I am downloading the base image again and again and again for each virtual machine, and that is an artifact of the loop function in Ansible. So I'm looping over virtual machine guests, saying download an image for that. It would be more efficient to say download it once and copy it for each of those guests. I think I actually did that. I had done this correctly and separated things out, but again, I don't know what happened to that part of the code, so we're in recovery mode. Oh no. Okay. My light automatically turned off behind me, so we're back to the dull lighting. But this seems pretty easy to fix. As far as why it's only on here. Why is like half of this? I I don't know what that. What is this? Documents versus projects. That's weird. I don't know what that is. Anyway, post var. Copy cloud config. Yes. Uh, okay. Remember this. host name. Host name. Suppose I could just guess the idea behind what I did there originally was that you could separate these two out, where the guests that you define in like the hypervisor, your libvirt guests variable, that list. I guess I was thinking that your host names there don't necessarily have to be the same as the name from this, but what if we just change that? What if we just get rid of this and just this to item? I do that again. I do that again down here. Yeah, here's where it's a problem. There's some function that I use to get that. Let me see if I can find that real quick. Might even just use like an AI to. There we go. Okay. I don't think that's correct. Not that what I have is correct, but let's tell it something about this. Right. This is not. Well, unfortunately, we might be stuck here. Let me try Google. Stack Overflow. I have a playbook that executes a script on a Windows box that returns a value that I have to reuse later in my playbook after switching to localhost. Can I access this value after switching to localhost? Kind of looks right. Really? Oh, I know the problem. My gosh, it's getting dark in this. We're back in business. Okay. Oh, I just figured something. What? I've forgotten. I feel like I just thought of it. Okay, well, I think we're stuck there for tonight. Made it pretty far. Have to get that. There's a lot of room for error still. That's unfortunate. Hmm. I remember this problem. And I'm still shocked that this is empty. Nothing. But, oh, ho, ho. I have an idea. Where are you? There. Git blame. Ah, we can walk back the history. This. There it is. There it is. Does it have the answer I'm looking for? No, looks exactly the same. Crap. Yeah, see, that's where I put it into a single roll, but I never copied the stuff over. Cool. didn't work. So can I go back further? Version 1 working. Yeah, see that? I think still using it. Oh, geez. I realized the issue like a few minutes ago, but then I forgot it. And the issue was so obvious. I can't believe I forgot it after. It is late, folks. Come on. Cut me some slack. Inventories. Foolish mistake. Forgot to add them to the inventory. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That, my friends, is software engineering in a nutshell. You will spend lots of time late in the evening looking for your stupid mistakes. But this is actually kind of a cool opportunity to see item potency again. It's not quite so clear when I'm just running the playbook once, but now I'm going to run the whole playbook again. And what we'll see is that it actually won't run the same steps twice. Some of them it will. Hold on. There's something about this one. Something I need to remember to do. One of these roles. So I feel like I had a... Oh, good. That's... Pleasure. Certain that there was a... something that like wasn't working for item potency, where it was copying the MOTD. It would just copy it every single time. So yeah, this what's supposed to do. Okay. So this is just from having done this a long time ago that I was thinking that this step for copying the MOTD, I think I previously had it that it was just like taking the text and appending it to the MOTD file. And if you ran it more than once, it would just keep appending it to the file because it doesn't like read the file to see that it's already there. It doesn't do the item potency check with that command. And so I had a variable that was saying whether or not this was the first time that you were running this role on that machine. But I see that I have actually just replaced that with this copy MOTD, and neither of those roles has a variable for. Wait. Defaults. There. His new host. um, that should be true the first time you run it. Why? What does that do? Anything. Let me do a grep. um, I don't think this is gonna do anything. I seem to have it. I don't know why I set it to true in these places. It seems like it's becoming true everywhere for some reason, but I don't think this is actually applying to anything anymore. I'm just gonna run the whole thing again. Let's just do it. Let's see what happens. All right. Okay, now this has to be the last one. I gotta go after this. I grow weary, and let's see. But you can see it's just skipping over everything here. I think it will download the cloud images again. Yeah, like it sees that everything's installed. Reloading sysctl, it does that again. I'm gonna take another break while this is happening. About where it failed last time. Oh, good. Well, I think that's gonna be it for tonight. Let me take a look at this error. Excuse me. Oh, that's actually easy to fix. So what it's saying is that this file POM cloud config doesn't exist. That's because it is just name. Uh-oh. Those might actually be missed. Cloud Oh, okay. Okay. We're saved. The files exist. They just have different names. User data and metadata, they're right there. So we are still in business. Yeah, okay. Oh, we keep going. I believe. Cool. Keep saying this is the last one. This is gonna be it. You keep egging me on, so Wonder if in version 1 did I download them each individually? Yeah, see that right here. Download, copy. And version 1, I had gotten this correct. So actually, we should have gone to this and copied this. Seems like this is the. Could have saved myself some time tonight if I had gone back into the commits and gotten this. At least now I know to do that when I am fixing this and putting it actually in a role. And we got to do some learning, which is, I guess, the point of putting it on a stream. So, hooray. Shouldn't be long. While we're just sitting here, I don't mind taking the opportunity to ask you to do whatever things you do on whatever social platform you are engaged on at the moment. I've been preferring Mastodon personally, in which case you would boost the post. If you would do that, I appreciate it. Or like the post, whatever you like. Most of you are probably viewing on YouTube, in which case you can like and subscribe, but wherever you may find yourself on the internet, I have been migrating towards ActivityPub and self-hosted services, but feel free to share this to the ends of the earth. That looks like we finally made it past that step. But I have a feeling that I do need to restart these guys. Yeah, okay. Attribute. It's this. Excuse me. Fine. Oh, I think this is what I no. Oh, it's this again. Well, I suppose here. check here. So it should be getting this value from a YAML there. Oh, wonder. I bet. So since I have vCPU defined here, and I don't have placement there, I'm guessing that vCPU is overriding the whole dictionary with, just an empty a dictionary containing one key value pair that is value equals 2, and the vCPU dot placement value from vms.yaml is getting overwritten by a null, I'm guessing. So let's just copy that over to all others. Try one more time. Because I like to lie to you. Please. What's going on with my camera? Why am I blurry? I'm not blurry in real life. Focusing on something. Oh well. Assume that will fix itself at some point in the future. Why is it doing that though? Weird. I think if I go back to this though, I'm going to see reset each one. Oh, okay. Well, this is okay. So I should have. So part of this cloud config stuff is that I can tell it to resize the file system, so I can give it a larger disk than it originally comes with. I think it only comes with like 8 gigabytes. So yeah, it's just in the cloud config thing that I resize that disk, and that I don't remember where I do that, but oh well. So yeah, I have to like restart each one in order to get it to, like accept that it has more disk space, to recognize that the file system has grown. It needs to be reset. But I can just do that manually while I'm SSHing into each one because I need to do that anyway. But again, I need to remember to consult this version when I am going to copy this over correctly into its role. Oh, please work. They're happy green results. There we go. There we go. Oh. WAN. Okay, well, I think I just forgot a step, which we can. The problem, so some issues are like really hard to figure out, and those are almost easier to start on. Wait a minute, why isn't WAN active? Whoop. Again. You can see that it's using the ZSH thing now. It wants to install some plugins for me. But I now have my nice command prompt on the R720, so we can see that some stuff has happened. But what I want to do is what? Oh, it's inactive. Why is it inactive? Do I have to activate? Auto start. This. Start. Exactly. Um. Should I just turn it on manually? I don't want to because it's supposed to work. Returned to Ansible documentation. Let's just add this playbook. Add that in there. Started. Okay. Even once this playbook finishes, like I've mentioned, I don't expect my Kubernetes errors to go away right away. I believe I have to redeploy the problem services, i.e. Redis, and tell them to use the new network file system provisioner, the R720 NFS client. I think once I do that, then all should be well, but I don't think we'll get there tonight. This certainly this is going to be the last one. An hour later. Yeah, it's time. It's time to work. Just work. Nice and easy. I don't like that it says that ensure that a network is active. It said okay, like it skipped that step. I don't like that. I have a feeling we're going to hit the same error again. Mm-hmm. WAN is not active. I might just do it manually. Let's check version 1. What happened in version 1? I bet what happened in version 1 is that I ended up like restarting the hypervisor. Maybe it persisted and started that way. Just does auto start. Okay. Okay. That did it. I don't know if that's going to persist across reboots, but for tonight, I don't know that I care. Last one. Bit of a break. Okay. No matter what, this is the last one. For sure. Please work. No. WAN is not active. Well, we'll pick this up next time. Like I said, this video is going to live in the GitT pull request, which I will link in the description of this video if you're watching it somewhere else. And that will do it for today. Sorry we couldn't finish. Let me go ahead and make sure all our changes are pushed over real quick. Okay. Yeah, like I said, this video will live in the comments of the pull request, and I will link that pull request wherever this video exists elsewhere. So thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time. I don't know when I'll pick this back up. Hopefully it'll be tomorrow evening, but other things might happen. We'll find out. Thanks for joining. See you next time. Toodaloo.